Marvel has been hitting quite a large number of home runs in their movie vault, so to try to rewrite one of them would be like wanting to go into an all-you-can-eat barbecue, eat a ton of meat, eat a ton of salad, and pray that you won't destroy the toilet when you get home. So apologies, fanboys and girls, prepare your butt to be hurt if I ruin your favorite sequel of all time. This movie wasn't bad by any means. It had a couple of awesome moments, a lot of fun banter, and everything you need to make you shove popcorn happily down your throat. But it wasn't really memorable. I can vividly recall the storylines and standout scenes of Iron Man 1, Winter Soldier, Civil War, even Ant-Man. But Ultron was a little bit too safe. No stakes. Not really, anyway. I can't fault Joss Whedon for the movie that it was. He genuinely did the best he could with the constraints that he had. Let's recap the movie just to quickly get the story fresh in our heads. The Avengers are called to investigate a Hydra facility that has Loki's scepter. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch pop in to say hi. Avengers succeed in taking Loki's scepter and they party it up back home. Tony's still freaked by the hallucination the Scarlet Witch gave him, so he accidentally creates Ultron, who then wants to kill all of humanity to save Earth. Ultron teams up with the Wonder Twins. Avengers fight amongst each other. Avengers retreat to a safe house. Hawkeye has a secret family. Thor has a secret bubble bath. Iron Man and Captain America measure dick sizes. Hulk and Black Widow share a gooey moment. Vision is 3D printed out of a MakerBot, and they're off to save the world. Wanda and Pietro quickly realize they've been following the wrong suit of armor and switch teams. Marvel Quicksilver apparently isn't as fast as Fox Quicksilver and dies trying to save Hawkeye. Team gets together for their one superhero shot. Vision takes Ultron to the recycle bin, then right-clicks and deletes him for good. And a superhero speech to tie it up in a nice, neat bow. The story is trying to achieve a bit too much with the screen time they have, but I still think that Joss Whedon is amazing for the product that he created, considering the limitations and constraints he had. And I love how the Scarlet Witch turned their worst fears alive in a great display of powers. It was a great way of showing more history of the characters we know and love. But, if you'll indulge me, here's my fanfic nerdling rewrite. The movie starts off with the team in Sokovia investigating the Hydra base, but I want the introduction of Wanda and Pietro's characters to be a bit more mysterious and foreboding than them just suddenly fighting each other in the woods. For the life of me, I wouldn't know why they would team up with the guy who's been experimenting on them. If you've been poking and prodding at me, the first chance I get out, I'm poking and prodding at you. Wanda and Pietro would still be stuck in their cells, and they'd be caught halfway between the shadows. Never a full shot of their faces or bodies. Wanda's rocking back and forth against the wall, and the moment the Avengers break in, Tony accidentally breaks the cell walls too. Wanda sees the Stark armor and freaks out, causing a huge psychic wave. Here, like in the movie, Tony Stark hallucinates about failing his team. Quicksilver helps his sister escape, and the Avengers only see the remains of a cell inhabited by a speedster through the scuff marks on the floor. They also see an adjacent cell carved and obliterated by a strange set of powers. They even see a straitjacket with the straps melted off. The Avengers don't think of it too much because they have Loki's scepter and they have a party to get back to. Like in the film, Tony is haunted by his hallucination and creates Ultron. Ultron does his Ultron thing and sings his Pinocchio song before escaping to the Hydra facility. Pietro and Wanda are all alone in the woods nearby, with Pietro bringing food and supplies to his sister by making quick runs into the nearest town. Wanda is at her breaking point. Trees suddenly fall, birds dive bomb to the ground, and stones scatter erratically. It's clear her mind needs to focus. Ultron senses the twins nearby, and he helps Wanda find the focus she needs to center her mind and powers. He uses Tony Stark and her hatred of his weapons to channel all her rage, which gives her newfound control over her chaos magic. It's a similar teaching moment to this scene in X-Men Apocalypse. Oh, the parallels. I love them. The Avengers get intel that Ultron is obtaining vibranium in Johannesburg, and now the twins make their first and very deadly appearance to the Avengers. Wanda is instructed to give everyone nightmarish hallucinations just as she does in the original movie, so we can keep the Black Widow flashback scenes and everything. She especially has a vendetta against Stark and turns Hulk against him. Everyone had a lot of fun with this action scene, so I definitely think it's worth keeping. The Avengers retreat to Hawkeye's safe house, where they learn of his secret family because, fine, okay, he doesn't get with Black Widow, whatever. not sour about it. But this mushy-gushy scene doesn't exist. Natasha and Bruce talk about how they can't lead normal lives and bond like normal friends do, but no farther than that. I'm gonna put a parental divider between these two. No goo-goo eyes, no staying out late. The team gets their shit together and need a way to defeat Ultron. Thor returns from his jacuzzi bath and tells the Avengers about the Infinity Stone. The Avengers 3D print their own version of Ultron so they can imbue it with the Infinity Stone once Thor comes back with Loki's scepter. In the movie as it stands, the Avengers are constantly chasing after Ultron, but not actually doing anything proactively to actually stop him. The Battle of Seoul is pretty much the same as the Johannesburg battle, apart from a few cool trailer scenes. Just from how overpowered the Avengers were in Johannesburg, they should already know that they can't win against Ultron and the twins just from their powers alone. So in this case, they have to make something that could. Thus, they 3D print Vision. Ultron doesn't do this. The Avengers do. The Avengers split into two teams. One stays back to work on printing Vision, the other goes out to battle Ultron to take back Loki's scepter. This could be a fun opportunity to intersplice one team having the battle of their lives, while back home, the other team is busy arguing over giving Vision 6 arms or something. This could be any combination of characters on either team, but for this rewrite, I'm going to imagine Iron Man, Thor, and Hawkeye going after Ultron, while Hulk, Black Widow, and Captain America staying behind. It's a must that Thor goes to get Loki's scepter since he's the one with the knowledge of the Infinity Stones. Iron Man goes to add fuel to Wanda's undying hatred of him, and Hawkeye goes for reasons I'll get into a little bit later. Thor and team discover that Ultron is on his way to create a machine to turn the country of Sokovia into a giant meteor. They barely escape stealing the scepter from Ultron, and Hawkeye's pulled back by Wanda's powers. Here, Hawkeye knows the world's at stake and tells Stark to leave him, otherwise they won't have a shot at stopping Ultron. I give the Damsel in Distress award to Hawkeye because Marvel kind of gave him the older brotherish connection to Wanda by giving her that touching speech about being an Avenger, and him giving her guidance in Civil War. Thor and Iron Man woefully leave him behind. Wanda's furious that Stark got away. Ultron wants to kill Hawkeye, but Wanda and Pietro feel like he would be much better use as a bargaining chip for Tony Stark, since that is the one Avenger they want to have pay. Ultron's like, yeah, whatever, you do you as long as you don't get in my way. While imprisoned, Hawkeye tries talking to Wanda, trying to understand why she would join up with such an evil entity. Wanda explains how he helped her center her mind and how he's helping her get to Stark, but Hawkeye tells her that he's just manipulating her for her powers because only an idiot would say no to having chaos magic on his side. She snaps back, even saying that Stark abandoned him, so he must be insane to think that Stark cares about random civilians on the ground when he doesn't even care about his own comrades. Back at the Avengers Tower, the Ultron team comes back with the scepter and activates Vision. Everyone gears up to go after Ultron and save Hawkeye. Black Widow especially wants to go there and blow his scrap metal brains out. Wanda goes to Ultron demanding why he doesn't help her to pursue Stark. Ultron gives her a half-baked answer and doubt is stirred in her mind. Because honestly, he doesn't care at this point. He wants the world. He doesn't just want Stark. She forces her way into Ultron's mind and discovers that he intends on using her people, her homeland, as a meteor to destroy the whole world. She pleads for him to stop, but with a flick of his wrist, he flings her aside. She then realizes that her mentor had been lying and manipulating her the entire time, just as Hawkeye described. By having Hawkeye detail this truth to Wanda before she discovers this on her own, Wanda would have had a much stronger tie to joining the Avengers. Just as the movie currently stands, I believe Wanda and Pietro would have turned against Ultron, but still would not have been able to forgive Stark for the childhood trauma his weapons had inflicted on them. At best, they wouldn't be actively fighting the Avengers, but they wouldn't be joining them at the end either. If Hawkeye and Scarlet Witch developed a deep trust before the rest of the team comes, that would definitely be their gateway in. The Avenger team arrives to Sokovia just as Wanda, Pietro, and Hawkeye escape. Wanda is still traumatized about fighting. Her mentor just turned out to be a fraud. She doesn't trust Stark. Quicksilver tries to convince her to run away, as they always have. His character is a brother that's always looking out for his sister and no one else. He doesn't care about their city, he could burn for all he cared, he only wants to keep his sister safe, and right now, it's survival and self-preservation. But Hawkeye convinces them to stay and fight. This is where we keep Hawkeye's speech about being an Avenger. And with that, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver go out to fight with a real cause. They meet up with the rest of the Avengers, and Iron Man and Scarlet Witch still have some issues with each other, but they're both willing to put down their arms against each other for now. The Avengers fight their way into Sokovia and do their normal thing. They make sure to have their epic superhero shot. And the battle pretty much plays out the same way it did on screen. Ultron's minions are killed left and right. Epic scene, epic scene, epic scene. And then here, this is where we split off into another possibility.
You didn't see that coming.
To me, this was just Joss Whedon's attempt to add real stakes and consequences to the movie, but also adhering to the Marvel guidelines of keeping all their central character out of harm's way. I wholeheartedly agree that the stakes need to be real, even in a sequel with many future installments in the works. But as it stands, Quicksilver hadn't been given enough character arc, depth, and connection to the team to really hit home as it should have. He was on Ultron's side for the most part, and most of the Avengers team had no real connection to him at all. He shouldn't have died here. Hawkeye should have died here. Yes, you may proceed to murder me in the comments, but if Hawkeye died saving Quicksilver, his death would accomplish multiple things. At this point in my rewrite, Hawkeye has established a bond with the twins and would have seen them as valuable friends and assets to the team, worth sacrificing his life over, so the plausibility check is there. Second, Hawkeye has a sound place in the Avengers team, and his death would have rippled through everyone. The audience also just learned that he has a wife and child on the way. Can you not hear the fanboys and girls sobbing into their pillows right now? And thirdly, his death would have closed the gap between Iron Man and Scarlet Witch. They both cared for him, and any differences they had would have dissipated with his sacrifice. Iron Man would see that Hawkeye gave his life to these two supposedly evil people, and know that they were just caught on the wrong side due to circumstance. Wanda, in turn, would realize that a man as good and as selfless as Hawkeye chose to work with someone like Stark, which means there is more to Stark than just his weapons. The two sides formally team up and turn Ultron into the ultimate tin can. And after Ultron's gone, there's no funeral scene for Hawkeye, because those are cliche as fuck and aren't even that sad. But we'll have a moment for the characters to reflect on Hawkeye's death. Black Widow and Quicksilver actually have a moment where he apologizes for being the reason that Hawkeye's dead. She refuses to accept his apology because she knew he'd do it for a random kid on the street. Now, a connection between these two characters has been established if needed for future movies. Cap tries to remain hopeful in the face of such adversity, and he speaks to keeping the team together and strong, just as he did in the original ending. Scarlet Witch, Quicksilver, Vision, Rhodey, and Falcon are all there, ready to train. The main issue I think Ultron had to deal with was juggling too many characters and big ideas at the same time. It's not impossible, but very difficult to do if you have to adhere to the 2.5-hour runtime theaters give blockbusters. I think they tried to make Ultron as notable a villain as Loki or Magneto, but with characters that'll eventually be added to the Avengers lineup, he really shouldn't have been the focus. Wanda and Pietro should have been the antagonists just as strong as he was, because that's the dynamic that will be the most interesting when they switch sides. Also, the Quicksilver death did not really achieve what I believed it wanted to achieve. He had just been introduced and not given much of a character arc. Him dying is like this guy dying in the background. But because he has a name in the comics, we're expected to feel an emotional pang to it. Sure, the whole audience was surprised, but I felt more for Coulson than I did for Quicksilver, which is a huge shortfall. Also, really? Why would you kill off one of the twins? Their brother-sister dynamic would be so much more interesting to see. Can you imagine the magnificence in Civil War had there been a scene with Vision and Scarlet Witch low-key hitting on each other, and then Quicksilver in the background eating ice cream or something? And I know I have the gift of hindsight, but why keep Hawkeye? I love you, Jeremy Renner. Please do more Saturday Night Live Ed Sheeran parodies, but this character arc would have been far more impactful if he had died. To have him retire in Age of Ultron, but then come out of retirement for Civil War, pretty much just says it. Nothing in Age of Ultron really mattered. I should say again, I definitely did not hate this movie, and I quite enjoyed myself when I watched it. I just couldn't help think there are some tweaks that I would have made had I been given a chance to touch the golden script. But hey, this is just one fangirl's opinion. What are your thoughts? Do you have any cool tweaks you would make to the original movie? Are there any changes you'd make to my rewrite? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks guys, I'll see you next time.